May I speak to you in the name of God. Amen. Where is this child who has been born King of the Judeans? For we observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage. Have you ever noticed how life doesn't always turn out the way we carefully planned it? That sometimes circumstances don't follow our plans? Often, it seems that life is nothing more than a series of shattered dreams. And the Magi, it's a good example this morning. Let's look the story. The tradition of the church says that the Magi spent 2 years researching about the star and the prophecy and following the star. So to follow that star for 2 years, they had left home and family behind. They had left their own country and they became pilgrims. Along the way, for sure, they have to face perils and obstacles, especially in those days, carrying those gifts. And the story tells us that they have actually found themselves in the presence of a king, the great Herod. I didn't know much about Herod until I went to visit Jerusalem and some of the buildings that were constructed during his period. So great Herod is known or is famous for 3 things. First, he was known for the projects of great buildings. He was pretty obsessed about construction of certain buildings. Second, for acting without compassion even with his own family. And third, he was known for his neurosis that everybody was against him. He is also the king that is known for sentencing innocent children to death. But after surviving Herod's hospitality, the Magi finally arrive at their destination, which is Bethlehem. They find that the star they have been following stops over a humble house, not a royal palace. These men, in their caravan, probably dreamed of finding the Messiah in a palace. And that probably explains why they went to Herod's first. And I'm sure they expected a little bit more luxury, not a small house. What they found did not match their dreams. After 2 years of expectation, after 2 years of research, they finally found the King of Kings in the home of a peasant. Probably nothing more than a shock. No doubt their dreams were shattered. Yet, amid the rubble of their torn and twisted dreams, they found things in that humble setting that changed their lives forever. Sometimes, life has a way of shattering our dreams and messing up our hopes and the plans we have. But let's look carefully what's happening in this story. Let's play the investigator part. So one of the things we kind of discover is that the Magi didn't come for a quick visit. They are not just spending the afternoon. When I was in Sunday school, I recall my teacher asking the kids the following question: how many wise men came to visit baby Jesus? I saw hands up, 3. Well, the Bible never said how many came to visit baby Jesus. So the New Testament doesn't say the number. What we do know, it's a prophecy from the Old Testament that says 3 kingdoms will come to Bethlehem to bow down before God's chosen one, the King of Kings. So whoever came to visit the baby Jesus, probably not kings, some translation says wise men, and I go beyond, I would say caravan. They travel long journey. They definitely came from different directions, so they didn't leave their places together. Somehow on the way, they met to get together in Bethlehem. And while I was meditating and writing this, I thought of Mary Alcuin, who went to the Camino de Santiago in Spain this last year. And the story kind of follows that pattern. People coming from different places, trying to find God. And they kind of arrive together, right, Mary? They make friendship on the way. And somehow God, mysteriously, it happens on the way. The other thing was not 3 camels. Let's think of caravan, men and women. And they arrive in this place, they don't find a palace, and they find a carpenter and his wife. They find Joseph and Mary. So they probably stayed a few days. And they probably heard their personal stories. They have seen God's plans on their faces, in the face of a carpenter, in the face of a young mother. They see the face of God in the face of the small ones, of the fragile ones. Finding God in a small shack and listening God's will through that poor couple probably have changed their view of God. Their perception of God is now much wider than before the travel. They traveled to Bethlehem in faith, and they left Bethlehem in joy. As Christians, we have learned that to find joy, many times we need to go through what we call the cloud of unknowing. The cloud of unknowing is that place where we sometimes walk in fear, in hope, and also in faith. And just clarifying here, faith is not certainty. Faith is not absence of doubt, it's the presence of belief. A theologian called Mary Harvey, she kind of explains her understanding of faith. She says, courage is not the absence of fear, but the capacity to act in the presence of fear. So faith is not the absence of doubt, but the courage to believe in spite of doubt. Trust is not the absence of qualms, but the capacity to go forward despite misgivings. So in the same way we say, faith is not the absence of doubt, but the courage to believe in spite of doubt. Now I ask you, this morning, when was the last time your faith was tested? When was the last time you put a lot of time and energy in your planning, and suddenly you discovered yourself without ground? When was the last time you found yourself in the cloud of unknowing? The wise men left from distant lands to find God, and they found an unexpected God in an unexpected situation. Because God was born in these conditions, now God is capable to understand the weak, the poor, from the point of view of the weak and the poor. God is not anymore a private God living in a palace, but thanks to the experience of nativity, God is an accessible God in a manger. The story of the Magi is the story of everyone who is seeking for answers, of everyone who is living in hope, and it's for everyone who is seeking redemption. They are pilgrims seeking epiphany, revelation of God. And God in the story reveals itself in a very accessible way. And the other element of the story is that the Magi didn't leave their homes with empty hands. They are walking, bringing their gifts to offer to God. So I would say the first lesson for us today is the awareness that each one of us has a story about finding God in an unexpected situation. We think we know where to find God, but God surprises us. But there is a second lesson. And the second lesson is that each one of us, even when we are in the search for answers, we have gifts to offer to God. Sometimes we just need the tools to awaken us to that possibility. And it's that for that reason that during the season of Epiphany, our parish will provide you some of those tools. We are going to offer during Epiphany a program that is already being observed by many Episcopalians in this country. The program is called The Way of Love, Practices for a Jesus-Centered Life. We hope these words that are going to be used in the program will be keys to unlock our perception of God's action in our lives. They will unlock your gifts to offer to God and to others. We can't experience the beauty of light if we are walking with covered eyes. When they talk about Epiphany, it's going to happen. The light of God is happening anyway. But if we walk like this, we are not to be affected by the light. We need to uncover. So the liturgy planning team thought maybe these will be tools to help us to uncover our eyes to see the light of God fully. Epiphany means manifestation of light. For 2019, we're going to be exploring 7 words, so we can fully encounter God through the experience of life centered in Jesus. The program is an invitation from the General Convention to all of us. And our Bishop Marion Buddy, has already created a podcast for those who would like to follow this program and create their own rule of life. So you can find on the website of the Diocese of Washington the reflections from our own bishop. But we are bringing to the parish, and we want to invite you to engage through Epiphany, through the 7 or 8 Sundays of Epiphany, these tools. So the 7 words to feed us in Epiphany are learn, pray, worship, bless, go, rest, and turn. Those are the 7 holy words that we're going to be addressing during this Epiphany. By entering into reflection, discernment, and commitment around this practice given to us by Jesus, we will grow as communities following the loving, liberating, life-giving way of Jesus. He should be our center. His way has the power to change each of our lives and to change this society, just like was done to the Magi. I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power, together with all the Lord's holy people, to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know his love that surpasses knowledge, that we may be filled to measure of all the fullness of God. Amen.